listener production.
Hi, Natarsha Belling with you and welcome to the afternoon edition of The Briefing. Coming up in our deep dive, one of the worst flood disasters in Australian history. We'll speak with 7 News journalist Sam Payne for the very latest, who is on the ground in northern New South Wales. At least 2 people have died with 3 others missing. Hundreds have been rescued and thousands more have been evacuated as the record-breaking floodwaters wreak havoc. But first, let's check the afternoon headlines this Thursday, the 22nd of May. A 30-year-old man has been arrested after 2 people were shot dead outside a Jewish museum in Washington, D.C. An event was being held at the museum with reports the man and woman, who were a couple that were killed, had ties to the Israeli embassy. Police say the alleged offender was chanting "Free, Free Palestine." Here is the Israeli ambassador to the US.
The couple that was gunned down tonight in the name of Free Palestine. It's a young couple about to be engaged. The young man purchased a ring this week with the intention of proposing to his girlfriend next week in Jerusalem. They were a beautiful couple who came to enjoy an evening in Washington's Cultural Center.
Back home, and another twist in the relationship breakdown between the Liberals and Nationals. Now, there are reports the coalition split has been put on hold while the Liberals hold a party room meeting chasing a deal on a number of key policies. Here is the Nationals leader, David Littleproud.
I think the Nationals have acted in good faith, and as a consequence, sending those shadow spokesmen home, I'm proud to say that we'll allow this process to take place and for the Liberal Party to convene at whatever period is for them and convenient for them. And I think that is the way forward.
And now to the latest on the flood disaster in northern New South Wales. At the time of this recording, at least 2 people have been killed and there are grave fears for at least 3 others who are missing in the record-breaking floodwaters. The major areas of concern are around Coffs Harbour, Taree and Kempsey, with some areas seeing up to 600 millimetres of rain. Hundreds of residents have been rescued, thousands more are isolated or stranded. The New South Wales Premier Chris Minns has flown into the disaster zone, warning we need to prepare for more bad news.
There is a massive contingent of emergency service workers on the mid-north coast and through the Hunter region. 2,500 emergency service workers, 2,200 from the SES, scores from police, ambulance and the RFS, as well as Fire and Rescue New South Wales and the VRA, many other agencies. But the number of houses that have been inundated and the number of communities that have been isolated far exceed the amount of boats, the amount of helicopters, the amount of trucks that any government can provide. And so the first defence that we have in these natural disasters, and disaster is in the title, is for people to listen to emergency broadcasts and make good decisions as early as possible.
The dangerous weather system is now moving south with severe weather warnings issued for Sydney, the Blue Mountains and also the Southern Highlands. In our deep dive this afternoon, we speak with 7 News journalist Sam Payne, who is on the ground for the very latest on this unfolding crisis. Sam, thanks so much for joining us. Tell us what you're seeing there on the ground.
Yes, good afternoon, Tash. It's really heartbreaking. A lot of people isolated, as we said. There's thousands that were still cut off by floodwater. Just really wondering when this rain is going to stop. And obviously that huge state response in what the Premier's called it as one of the biggest responses to a natural disaster in state history. There's been a big air presence. 10 helicopters are actually currently up at the moment, going across the mid-north coast, rescuing people still stranded on roofs. More than 2,500 emergency workers spread across the coast as well, trying to help as many people as possible. But it's such a big area as well. It's heartbreaking. But there's also tales of survival and locals helping each other out. There's a pair of guys who are driving around in a tinny right now, rescuing people from their houses. Everyone's coming together, but it's still a very scary time. Tash, at this point in time, 3 days in, we're still not sure how long it will go for.
And Sam, in regards to the New South Wales Premier, he did hold a press conference saying it was one of the biggest rescues in Australian history. And also in regards to say, people need to brace for more bad news. At this stage, we understand it's an unfolding situation. But I've heard people say that they're used to floods in these areas, but they've never seen anything like this.
And that's the thing about this event is that it's so big. And the levees, especially at Kempsey, they've never seen their town go and split into islands like it has. And there's a fair bit of shock, as you mentioned, because when these come through, they deal with these floods in the past, or low-lying areas do get flooded. But with this weather event that's so bad is the amount of water coming through. A lot of them have never seen this water come up to their houses, come over their windows before, Tash.
And I've seen the pictures when you're doing live crosses, Sam, and that's what is mind-blowing about this. The water is moving so quickly and also rising so quickly.
Definitely. And it's frustrating for emergency services. They've had times where they've tried to go out in their boats, but the water was flowing too fast. They couldn't actually get to the resident in need. And that's why these 10 helicopters have been so vital for these rescue efforts. But it's also variable on the weather. And if they can even get out with this storm system, hoping that over the next 12 hours, when this hopefully travels further south, they can get it out to even more people in need.
And Sam, for you right now, these residents have already been through so much. So many residents in that northern New South Wales area have already been through floods. And that's the devastating thing about this, to go through this again, especially so many local producers losing stock.
That's exactly right. And it's almost as if they're thinking, there was a farmer I actually spoke to a bit earlier today on the phone, and he's heartbroken because he's going, when will we be able to rebuild? Because after these weather events and their ground's saturated, their crops can't grow, they have to try and rebuild, but this has been hit again. So it is becoming almost a vicious cycle, Tash.
And in regards to the New South Wales Premier, we understand he has declared immediate financial response and relief for many people, but also the rescues, as you mentioned before, Sam, are very difficult because of these very dangerous conditions.
That's exactly right. And although they have said there will be these recovery grants and these grants put out, it's still very much a response phase. So they are looking at recovery right now, but there's still people stranded on their roofs. There's still going to be towns isolated by floodwater for at least the next 12 hours. So it's quite an interesting mid-territory we're in.
You take care and we appreciate your time. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you very much.
And that was Sam Payne from 7 News. And that's it for this episode of the afternoon edition of The Briefing. We'd love you to subscribe or follow us on Instagram at The Briefing Podcast. I'm Natarsha Belling. Thanks for your company.